Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our executive committee meeting. It's so good to see you all. Our last meeting was in June, so it's really great to gather again here at the beginning of the year to begin to look at the significant business of the Boston Public Library. To begin, I want to just acknowledge our commitment to equity, diversity, and inclusion to ensure that we reaffirm and we care about the principles of diversity, equity, and inclusion. We recognize that the libraries sit on lands of indigenous people, and that we together as trustees and stewards of this institution are committed to these values, specifically free to all. Access to the library and inclusion is the intent of all the work that we do. So welcome. The next item on our agenda, and you'll have to help me along, Pamela, please,
Sure, roll call.
is roll call.
All right, I'll just do your last names. Arano Ortiz,
Here.
Berman,
Here.
Cronin,
Here.
Douglas,
Here.
Heiler, Hawkins,
Here.
and Westra.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Great, thank you. I know that you've all had a chance to review the meeting minutes from June 1st. And so may I entertain a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you, Jeff. Any comments? Second?
Second.
All approve? Thank you.
Right.
So what I want to start off with is the excellent participation by the trustees at Oak Square. And I know that I can ask, we have some great photos that you saw in the on board that we're going to show right now on the screen. And for the folks who attended, for the trustees who attended, please feel free to add in David as well. The thing that was really amazing to me was the generational involvement and the passion that the residents of Oak Square have for this library. It truly is beloved. I had a chance to talk to the McLaughlins, which the mayor highlighted in her talk, a husband and wife who met at the Central Library. And they not only, that's 40 years ago or 40, 50 years ago in the Abbey Room where they both worked at the library. And they had their son was in attendance with them and their grandson. And they were just so proud to be recognized. I also had a chance to meet the former librarian who was just, gobsmacked by the transformation. Anything from Joe, Christian?
I would just add that, the story of this branch, which was, very close to being closed many, many years ago, and its incredible comeback really made for a great story. It's almost, I was thinking a documentary filmmaker could probably do great work with that sort of triumph over adversity story. And you could just see the entire community felt that spirit. And it's just a wonderful thing. So it's just very, very energizing to be there and to have the mayor join us.
Yeah, I completely agree with what Joe said. I thought it was a wonderful event and it really drove home the importance of this library to the community. And it was really moving to me to hear so many people have been involved in the library for so many years and see how obviously meaningful this was.
Thank you. And I know, David, you have some statistics to share with us as well.
I do. For those who weren't able to be there, we held the ribbon cutting inside because we were doing it in the middle of winter, and we quickly reached capacity before the the program had the program had started, to the extent that there were lines around the corner outside in the street. And so the mayor's advance team and our AV team rushed into action and added a speaker through the window of the community room, so that people could continue to participate in the program from arts outside. Priscilla Foley was able to run the door count for visitors to the space on Thursday, the day of opening. And remember, we opened just at about 3 p.m. and stayed open till 8 p.m. And we had 1,200 visitors recorded, 1,100 and change visitors for that day, which is astounding for a branch that was indeed all those years ago, along with 3 others scheduled for potential closure during those times of really difficult budget conversations and fiscal pressure. So to have come full circle was amazing. And yeah, you can never say that there's a favorite branch or a favorite reopening, but certainly this one figures as a particularly special occasion because of the history of that branch and the passion and joy in the visitors and in the staff who are now working there and working there again was palpable. And so great day followed by, on Saturday, an open house of celebrations. The JP band was there, other activities throughout the day. And so I think the community and the friends are just so glad to have their branch back online. Now, we certainly hope that future branches do not take the full 3 years that this one took, but we had things like a pandemic and other challenges along the way that explain it. But certainly amazing to see there. And I know John Haller has just joined us, who was also present. If there are additional words to
David,
share.
Yeah, Dave, just I was at an event for the mayor yesterday, and she brought up the opening, and one of the best events she has been to as her time as mayor, and just made her feel fantastic to see such an amazing turnout and how it really helped that neighborhood and community, and commented on how the library is such an important integral part of the city. So it was nice to hear that to a different type of group. So I just wanted to back up what you were saying. It was just a wonderful event.
Great. And of course, Pamela, who seems to be every place at every time and had her finger making certain that the totally smooth operation. Really want to thank you for your effort. And Jay, squeezed in a corner and being able to respond so effectively with the recording and everything that you did. The acoustics and everything were perfect. So, you know, again, teamwork makes the dream work, and it was in operation, in evidence on that day. So thank you all. Let's move now to the city operating and capital submissions update. David and Evelyn and Emily.
If I may just add one thing, just acknowledging John for the roll call, had joined the meeting. And if anyone, the meeting is being recorded. If anyone wants to sign up for public comment, please do so in the chat. Go right ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
So
I'll do a quick, so as you, just a reminder for the new trustees who's not on finance and audit. Finance and audit has not had the chance to review these numbers yet. But this is basically, when we go through the budget process, basically what it is, the library needs to submit what it's called a maintenance budget. Basically say to the mayor, hey, if we do nothing, and in order to sustain the library, this is what we need. So the numbers in front of you is basically a 2% increase year over year. And then here you have what is it that we have, what's our budget for now for FY24, and then the request for next year under fiscal year 25. So here's your operating budget and then the proposed budget for next year.
And
Anything,
Evelyn,
Emily and David?
just to add the preview, once we get further through the process, we'll bring the approved detail back to Finance and Audit for detailed review before it comes to the full board for a vote. So just please consider this draft and an update on what has been proposed today, just to give people a sense of where we are. And I'll let Emily share the detail that she wants to share now, and some other additional supplemental information on the next slides.
Before Emily does that, I'm going to ask a really stupid question. So what's the difference between the city operating budget request and the proposed total BPO budget?
You know, that was the only thing, Joe, that I thought was left from this first slide. So what you're seeing here, just as David and Evelyn said, the city operating budget is the maintenance budget for FY25. The difference, we have some external funding that also makes up the remainder of the overall budget. Those are the numbers that you're seeing there. So as Evelyn said, about a 2% increase for FY25 is what we're proposing at this point. And Jay, if you could go to the next slide, please. These here are the 4 main themes that we're highlighting for the FY25 budget. You can see them here: safety and security, social work, youth services, and facilities. And then we also have 2 main areas of need that we're calling out as well for facilities and IT. Those are essentially physical adjustments, repairs that we're asking that to be addressed early into FY25. And then capital projects, no real changes for this budget submission. We wanted to list them all here, so they're top of mind for you all. But again, no real adjustments for this upcoming year. As Evelyn and David said, this is all draft at this point, so we'll be meeting with OBM in the next few weeks to start the process. And then we'll be meeting with Finance and Audit once things are more finalized.
And Joe, some of the external funding is, you know, BPL fund, trustee funds,
Yep. Yep.
the state, federal monies.
Sure.
There's
That
a
makes sense.
varied number of things.
Yeah, thanks, Emily. That's I realize I know that's obvious. Okay, thank you. Thanks so much.
Any more questions?
Any questions?
Thank
All right.
you. Thank you very much. Let's move now to the strategic planning update. Christian and David.
Yeah, thank you very much, Priscilla. I'm happy to kick things off. We're pleased to have engaged Gensler along with Margaret Sullivan as our strategic plan consultant. We've had a number of meetings, David, the staff and I, with that group, and things are very much underway. We formed a steering group comprised of a portion of the strategic planning committee and some other stakeholders, which will have its first meeting on February 1st. And then we'll be meeting periodically. Our plan would be to have the strategic planning committee then meet on a regular basis and to update the trustees in due course. Speaking for myself, I'm very pleased with the team that has been assembled by Gensler, and I'm excited to work with them. But David, I'd welcome any other thoughts that you have or comments that you have.
Yeah, I agree, Christian. I think it's always reassuring when the people you meet during a proposal stage are in fact the people that show up to do the work when it begins. And so that's a vote of confidence in the selection that we have made. And I think this Thursday's meeting of the steering group should really be about putting a bow on the timeline and the start of the process, so we can start scheduling any of the initial wave of meetings. You mentioned the strategic planning committee, to which others will certainly be invited. Opportunity for all of the trustees, opportunity for BPL leadership, BPL staff, a community input process as well. So all of those will start to fall into place and get scheduled. The overall timeline sits at a 9 to 12 month process. I think the core of the planning work and the development of the plan will run basically, as far as we know, February to about October, with a couple of months left for follow-up and implementation process. So that aligns with, I believe, our expectations and desire from the evaluation process and guidance from the trustees. And so after this Thursday's meeting, we would expect to have things, prop up on people's calendars, and then we will gather to do the work of developing the strategic plan. And so I think we're excited as a staff and leadership group at the library to have a plan that will replace the 2012 Compass Plan, guide us into the next 3, 5, 10 years at varying levels of granularity, and do so in collaboration with the trustees, who ultimately have the responsibility to approve and provide oversight to that plan.
Can I just ask a question? Can you share a little bit more about what views are represented, not by name, the who of the steering committee that's obviously going to have a large impact on the scope of the project? And the thing, as we all know about any strategic planning effort, it can be so broad. It can be, it's how you outline the questions moving forward is so critical. So is the steering committee comprised of trustees? Is it comprised of outside stakeholders? Is it comprised of public officials? What's the makeup of the steering committee? Not by name, but by view, sort of.
So the steering group is really, to oversee logistics, schedule, and ensure that we stay on track. So it includes Christian and Jose as the representatives of the trustees, who are the chair and vice chair of the Trustees Strategic Planning Committee, which is the broader group. The steering group also includes myself and 2 members of BPL leadership, and the Gensler principals. So it's really a tight, small group to keep us focused. We have agreed that we will bring in other voices when we need specific guidance or expertise. The Strategic Planning Committee, Cheryl, which is different than the steering group, includes a longer list of trustees and external stakeholders who have varying degrees of involvement with the library. And those names are listed on our website as an official committee of the trustees.
Okay, thank you.
So we plan to keep you updated. We'll be presenting at the formal trustee meeting in March, and we will also be calling on you to make certain that you're aware of what this plan is going to be. In terms of the outcome, Christian, can you or David, can you speak to that? So when we talk about doing a strategic plan, what do we hope to accomplish?
I think at the end of the day, Priscilla, what we want is something that's actionable, that will be useful for staff, and a helpful guide in implementing the vision of the committee and the vision of the board. I think there's a real consensus view that this is something that should, at the end of the day, be a tool that can guide the library for many years to come. And I think there's an appreciation that for this to be useful, for it to be all the things that I mentioned, it will have to speak to things that the library should be focusing on, other things that perhaps the library should be less focused on. As part of the output, one of the things that I'm particularly excited about is the implications for public relations, marketing, refreshing the brand, sharing in a more amplified voice the great work that we do to the community. And so I think coupled with the strategic plan itself, there will be an important communication strategy that dovetails with the plan.
I will add that personally, I hope that it gives us the roadmap, if I can use that word again here, to reestablish and reclaim the Boston Public Library as a premier urban public library in the 21st century. And, this is as aspirational a process, I hope, as what established the Boston Public Library as the first large municipally funded public library back to 1848. So I actually believe we are at the beginning of a resurgence of interest and appreciation for public libraries nationally, sometimes in the face of challenge, but nonetheless, this is a moment for public libraries. We see this in the desire to use our renovated spaces. We were just talking about the Faneuil branch. There were equally huge crowds at Rosendale, at the Chinatown temporary space when we opened it, just to pick on two other examples. We know there's a desire for information, for understanding of history, for discourse, for understanding ideas that our collections together can amplify. We know that the work of librarianship and library workers is evolving in a way that is even more responsive to the civic, human service, and social needs, cultural needs of our communities. So I hope that we have a document that reflects those aspirations, but also guides the work on an ongoing basis. And one of my pet tests of a strategic plan is in what it enables you to say no to, because otherwise you end up being all things to all people, and that's a recipe for not being good at anything ultimately.
So thank you. We will, now that we have this great tool on board, and we'll be able to let you know what's up, what are we doing, where we are, because clearly as trustees and as ambassadors and people are saying, there's a strategic planning going on at the library, what's up, to give you the tools to be able to answer and engage in those in this conversation. So again, we're all in this together, moving forward to be a 21st century urban library, a premier library in this country. Okay, so we're going to move on, right, Pamela? And
Yes, next slide, Jay.
we need to take a vote for executive session, and the purposes of this executive session is to conduct a strategy session for negotiations with a non-union staff member under exemption 2 of the Mass Open Meeting Law. The clerk is going to take roll call as we enter into this executive session held immediately following the adjournment of this meeting. The committee will not be reconvening in a public session. So could I get a motion to approve this moving into this executive session?
So
I
moved.
need to do a roll call vote, just so you know.
Okay.
Arano Ortiz,
Yes.
Berman,
Yes.
Cronin,
Yes.
Douglas, Hyla,
Yes.
Hawkins,
Yes.
and Westra.
Yes.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Pamela, do I need to read this?
It's just if you wanted to ask if there's any new business or public comment. I'm going to check and see if we have any. I don't believe I have anybody signed up for it. We do not.
Okay, good. Thank you. So the meeting is adjourned. We're going to be leaving this particular Zoom, and I'll see you on the other Zoom link.
Thank you.
Did we get another Zoom link for that one?
Yes, it's a separate calendar hold on your phone, on your schedules.
Okay.
I just resent it this morning as well,
Okay.
while we
Great.
were in this meeting.
All right. Thank you,
Thank
Pamela.
you.
Thanks, everybody.